All right, Brad, we are well underway for your first fight camp of 2022. How are things and how's the build up to this fight been so far?
Yeah, things going well. Kind of just coming together this week. You know, I usually hit a point in camp where, you know, everything starts falling into place, and I feel like that's happened this week. You know, we've still got plenty of time until the fight, so yeah, we're well on track.
When the opponent was announced, he'd got a southpaw opponent, unbeaten opponent, and one that me and his Brad's trainer, Blaine, have had history with. He boxed one of our lads a few years ago in Chris Blaney, so he's not an unknown quantity. We know plenty about him, and Blaine's got the game plan together, you know, for Brad, and with a little bit of an input here and there from me, you know, watching over Blaine's shoulder, and we think we got the right tactics. I think this week slipped a little bit. All the stuff we've talked about is all falling into place when you can see Blaine and Brad on the pads. It's all coming together, what we spoke about, and he's in perfect where he needs to be for this stage of the training camp. It's you know, get better now as the weeks get nearer.
I've boxed southpaws before, sparred them before, boxed plenty as an amateur. You know, it's nothing new to me. It's just making sure you're getting the work in the gym, really.
Let's go back to Fight Night Newcastle and your fight of the night versus Jez Smith. Is obviously an absolute war. You scored that huge knockdown. What was your assessment of the fight and the night in general?
Yeah, you know, it was a great fight to be involved in. I think only seeing a small percentage of, you know, what I'm capable of. You know, it wasn't my best performance, but you know, I've shown kind of another side of me that you know, I've got what it takes to kind of bite down on that gum shield if I have to, and you know, it's just another thing to kind of tick off, and hopefully as the fight goes on, you know, I'm just going to keep ticking more boxes.
What do you make of Brad's 2021? You obviously had two very, very impressive wins, but what's your assessment of those?
Yeah, you know, he couldn't have had two better wins. I mean, against Lee Cutler, he looked, you know, absolutely sensational against another unbeaten prospect. There was mention of that as being a 50-50 fight, and no disrespect to Lee intended, because myself and everyone in the camp, we like Lee and the lads from that gym, but it turned out to not even be a contest. He was so impressive that day, and we thought he had kicked on a little bit quicker. He might have got a little bit more action due to his performance, but it didn't. But then when he did get his performance in his last fight was against Smith, I think that was the biggest learning fight for Brad. I mean, in previous fights he's probably been a little bit too good for everyone, but that was the first fight where he actually got hit back and he ticked the box. He showed what he was, showed what he's made of, showed that he could knuckle down. You know, he's not not shy of a bit of bottle to when there's a challenge in front of him. And ultimately, it looked very impressive. And the feedback we got from the fight, you know, for someone, you know, so tall and lanky like Brad is, he can fight up close, he can fight at a distance, you know, he can fight southpaw, he can fight orthodox. He's very, very multi-talented, Brad. And I think that last fight of his was the best fight of his career. I mean, there's better things to come, absolutely no doubt. But I think he just showed just what he's got. He showed he's got the ability, showed he can go into the trenches, showed he can adapt, so he can knuckle down and bite down on his gum shield. Ticked a lot of boxes in that last fight for me, and I think I speak for Blaine as his trainer. That was very pleasing for us all.
What did you make of 2021 in general? Obviously, you fought twice. You had one fight behind closed doors and one fight in a packed-out Newcastle arena. How did the two compare for you?
Yeah, it was a really good year for me. It was kind of a bit of a breakout year where I've gone from, you know, boxing on the small hall shows, selling tickets, you know, to kind of being thrown in the deep end, and it's a point I've kind of always believed I was good enough to get to. So it's nice to kind of get to this point now. Obviously, massively different. You know, the behind closed doors, and then finally getting to box back in front of a crowd, which was class. But you know, when I'm in there, yeah, I could be anywhere. Could be anywhere. You know, it doesn't matter to me, and you know, I've just got a job done. But it was great to have the fans back, have the arenas packed out, and you know, I'm looking forward to getting back to Manchester in a couple of weeks.
We know boxing is a very physical game, but it's also a big mental game. Do you think the fact you've never lost as a pro gives you that added strength going into each fight as well?
Yeah, probably. I'm getting to the point now where, you know, I'm going to be coming up against other lads who are in the kind of same position as me, other undefeated lads. You know, I'm happy to get in these fights, which I've shown in the past. You know, I'm not kind of scared of losing that which a lot of people are. You know, I'm not going to protect it. I want to be in these big fights. I've got no plans on losing it anytime soon, but you know, that's just the way it is. If you keep progressing, you're going to come up against kind of like-minded people who are very driven, and it's just down to me to kind of be even more motivated and more driven and be on it and get the win.
You're 11-0, 4 KOs. Talk to me about the fights that in your career that you've learned the most from.
100% that last one. I reckon I learned more in that last 8 rounds than I have done in the rest of my fights. You know, he's a very experienced fighter. Jez, he's been in at a good level, and you know, there was a few little things from the fight that I've picked up on that we've kind of tried to work into this camp, and hopefully for the next fight, people will be able to notice the kind of progression and the improvement.
In the ring, what would you say Brad's biggest strength is?
I'd say self-belief. Do you know what I mean? He's, you know, there's so much more to come from Brad, but even though he's only boxed on the small hall shows and the smaller shows, he's boxed at the Manchester Arena, obviously, you know, in his last one. But I think you can see in Brad, he knows he's got more in the tank, he's got more to come, and that's the best thing, you know, his self-belief and his confidence. From a boxing ability-wise, for someone so tall and, you know, and rangy, he hits extremely hard. He has a very good close quarter game, which people may find surprising for someone being so tall. But he's a good all-rounder. But I think it's self-belief, and I think the fact that he's never shy of learning. You know, when you see Blaine telling him stuff in the corner, telling him stuff in the gym, he's like a sponge. He absorbs it all and puts it into practice in his sparring and in his fights. So, and those are the signs as a trainer you want to see from your fighters. What you say they do, you know, when they listen, and having the confidence to carry it through, and that's what Brad's got.
As mentioned, you'll be fighting in the arena in your home city of Manchester. This time it will be a sold-out crowd. Is the crowd something, especially when it's a home crowd, something you think you can really use as motivation to put on a big show on the night?
Yeah, definitely. You know, it makes a massive difference. And you know, I think kind of obviously me earlier fight last year against Lee Cutler was behind closed doors, and my last fight was in Newcastle, and even though I had a couple of hundred travel up for it, you know, it's just different when it's kind of in your hometown, and obviously it's sold out. You know, I only got limited tickets, but I'm sure the support's going to be amazing. I just kind of want to keep building that fan base. You know, I want to be putting on entertaining fights. You know, I want people to come out and watch me, and I think I've shown that in my last fight against Jez Smith, and I'm going to try to do it again February 19th.
What do you make of your opponent? Do you know much about him at all?
Yeah, so he's an undefeated lad, southpaw. He's actually boxed one of my ex-stable mates, Chris Blaney. They drew, so I was at the fight and I've seen the fight. I know what I'm up against. Like I said, good lad, undefeated, but you know, I'm extremely confident I'm going to get the job done.
Let's take it back to the very start. How long have you been boxing for? How did you initially get into the sport?
As long as I can remember, I've been boxing. I've been in the gym since I was 6, 7 years old. Done a little bit of kickboxing beforehand, when I was too young to go to the boxing gym. I was a bit of a little fat chubby ginger kid, believe it or not. And yeah, then a couple of years after starting, my dad opened his own amateur club, St John's in Charlton, and kind of was in there 5-6 days a week, you know, from the ages of 9, 10 up until 18, 19, and you know, it's my life, it's all I've ever known. So, you know, it's to be doing what I'm doing now, kind of full-time job, you know, it's, you know, I'm over the moon to kind of get to live what I wanted to do when I was a little kid.
Outside of the boxing ring, who is Bradley Ray?
Just a normal 23-year-old kid. Yeah, don't know, just like doing what everyone else does, you know, having a few beers, having a Nando's, you know what I mean? I don't do anything out of the ordinary. Try and stay in the gym a lot of the time, but you know, I do like letting my hair down like everyone else once in a while.
Outside of the ring, what would you say Brad's biggest strength is?
Well, don't help him being a ginger, but just notice your one, aren't you? Sorry, rewind that. No, he's just got great personality. Do you know what I mean? And you know, you can see why he sells the tickets he does, and he continues to tell more. I mean, people like my style as a fighter when I was fighting, but I think they like my sense of humour and, you know, what I stand for, you know, and Brad's very similar. He's down to earth, feet on the ground, you know, laugh and joke a minute, life and sort of the party type thing, you know, and, you know, confident but modest. And that's what you want from your fighters. I mean, you know, they liked it with me, you know what I mean? As a little character, I'd always have a little bit of laugh and a joke with someone, and I was exciting in my fights, and that's what we want from our fighters, you know what I mean? You know, confident but not arrogant, you know what I mean? And that's what he's got, yeah.
Looking to the future, what are your plans in the sport? Obviously, I'm sure world champion, but do you want to go the traditional way and go through all the domestic titles, or are you looking to sort of move at a faster pace and reach the top as quickly as possible?
No, definitely that's my goal, to kind of go that domestic route. You know, that's kind of always the plan I've had since we turned pro. You know, it's something that me and my coach Blaine talked about. I want to get myself in a position where this year I'm fighting for the English title. I think I'm getting to that stage now. And then, you know, as I said before about when I turned pro, I set a few goals, and the goals were kind of realistic targets that I genuinely believe that if I worked hard I could accomplish, and top of the list was to win a British title outright. You know, that's my number one goal, and you know, I'm not just saying that's all I can achieve, but that's, you know, that's the top of the list. It's a very special belt, prestigious belt, and it's one I want to keep outright. You know, I'm not saying I'm close to that in the moment. Still only 23 years old, and I'm in no rush. But I think kind of going that domestic route and picking up a few of them titles along the way, by the time I get to that stage, you know, I'll be more than ready for them big fights.
Yeah, picking up on your age, obviously you're 23, and you're the youngest ranked inside the top 10 in the middleweight domestic scene by at least 3 years. That must give you some motivation, knowing that your skills speak for itself. Like, although you're not the most experienced, based on your skills and your expertise, you're right up with some Britich greats. Yeah, definitely. You know, it's something that, like, I know a lot, especially with COVID, a lot of these lads have kind of thought, you know, I've lost 2 years here, you know, I need to get myself in the mix where I have time on my side, and you know, I can take my time, don't have to rush, pick the right fights at the right time, and you know, it's a massive positive for me. Although, like I said, I don't have to rush and I can take my time. You know, I don't want to be in these nothing fights. I want to get myself in some big fights, and although I am only young, I know I'm good enough. I know I am good enough, and I think, you know, 2022 will be quite a big year for me. Do you have any specific names on the hit list, or is it more about the belts, or is there anyone that you've got your eye on?
Whoever has them titles that I'm going for. The domestic scene middleweight is absolutely stacked. So many good kids, so many good fights to be made, and like I said before, you know, I've proven in my last 2 fights, you know, I'm not scared to get in these fights. I'll have these fights, and you know, with everyone else in the division is, I'm sure there's going to be some exciting fights to be made over the next few years.
What can the fans expect when they tune in to watch your fight on February the 19th?
Excitement, no matter what it is. You know, I've shown kind of I can be in them distant, grueling fights. You know, I've shown I can first round knockouts, and you know, I just want to show a little bit more each time. No matter what you see, I'm going to put on a show, definitely.
Have you got a message to Craig when he watches this?
Make sure he's training hard, because I am, you know, coming for it.
When you fight an unbeaten fighter, they're always tricky because the fact that they haven't got beat, they don't know that they can get beat, you know. So I think he'll know that he's up against, you know, he's in for a fight with Brad. Brad's not taking him lightly, you know what I mean, with them southpaws. If you're not on the ball right from the outset, they can make you look a little bit tricky, and they can, you know, trick you into making a few mistakes here and there that you wouldn't normally do. And one thing I remember is the last fight with Chris Brain. It was a little bit of a bloodbath. Heads were clashing because of the difference between southpaw and orthodox and stuff like that. So Blaine's been working on that with Brad, you know, so that doesn't happen again, if you like, you know. And but yeah, Brad knows that he's got to be very, very smart. He's a little bit all over the show, you know what I mean. He's very talented, but you know, he wings the shots from here, there, and everywhere. He can fall in with his head. So Brad needs to box a very, very cute and sensible fight. Otherwise, things don't go. Things don't go tits up, as they say.
You fought at Manchester Arena once before, but this time there's obviously a huge sense of occasion with it being on the Calmbrook undercard. It doesn't really get any bigger than this. How does it feel for you to be on this card?
Oh, it's massive. It's massive. Like I said, you know, I've boxed there before, but I think I was in the ring at about 4:30 in the afternoon, and it was only a couple of hundred people, and most of them had bought tickets off me. So you know, I've been going to the Manchester Arena for years. You know, whether it's boxing, watching the likes of Ricky and Crawler and Quig, or you know, just music events, whatever. You know what I mean? I've been going since I was a little kid, so you know, it's kind of got a special place in my heart. And you know, when I turned pro, I kind of set a few goals and a few targets, and to box at a sold-out Manchester Arena was one of them. I'm not sure how late on in the card I'm going to be, but it looks like I'm going to have a pretty good chance of that in a couple of weeks.
How excited are you for the main event? How do you see the fight playing out?
Yeah, I'm really excited for it. I think, you know, a lot of people are saying, you know, it could be a couple of years too late. I think because of that factor, it does make it a little bit more exciting, and I think it'll make it a bit more of an entertaining fight. It's a tough one to call. It depends how much we've both got left. I think I'm swaying towards Khan. I think an older and a slower Khan is still very, very fast and very explosive, and you know, he's a handful for anyone. But you know, Brook's a big puncher. If he lands clean, I think it could be game over. But that's why it's so exciting. You know, there's so many different ways a fight could go.
What can the fans expect when watching Brad Ray on February 19th?
I think he's really going to shine in this fight. You know, his opponent comes to fight. He comes and has a bit of a go. So you know, Brad won't be found wanting to look for him. But I think the main thing is he boxes nice and smart, listens to Blaine in the corner, and I think he can put a nice clinical performance in. But he's got to be on the ball right from the outset, because he's a little bit of an awkward opponent, not just being a southpaw. It's a little bit all over the show, so he's got to stay switched on at all times. And if he do that, I think people will be raving about him again.
Finally, is there a message you've got to send to the rest of the middleweight division?
No, just you know, Brad fears no one. I mean, and when I mean no one, I mean I'm not talking world level, but I mean domestically, and any lads that are in the same boat as he is and in the same position that he is at the minute, I don't think there's anybody Brad would fear. So certainly in this next 12 months, a few of them might get the opportunity. Yeah.
Have you got a message for the fans?
Just thank you. You know, it's honestly means the world to me. You know, every time I get tickets and you know, or I announce a fight, the feedback I get is absolutely insane, and it seems to be growing. You know, and Manchester is a fighting city. It's a fighting city, and you know, you see now how they get behind the fighters in the past, like you know they have with the likes of Ricky and stuff, and that kind of Manchester arena, it turns into a fortress, and you know, hopefully I can keep building up, and they're kind of the aspirations that I want to get to. And you know, if I keep putting on shows and keep people what come and watch me, you know, hopefully I can get to that point as well.